Manifestation, community, and identity. They're so deeply interconnected, not only with each other, but to where we're at in life today and where we're headed to. And this message has true value for really being proactive in taking charge of what we're doing, what outcomes we're producing, and who we are and who we become. I'm going to start with a couple of quick stories to illustrate the message and then bring this back to how it relates to both of our path to elevation in creating the best versions of ourselves and everything that we can bring to fruition in our lives. Since a young age, I was hyper obsessed with anything related to handlebars. You know, it started out BMX and motocross. I had a box of VHSs called Crusty Demons of Dirt. I mean, these things after tax were something like $31 or $32 for a 45-minute VHS. I was making $5 or $7 an hour. Add the tax in, that was a couple days of part-time work to trade for one of those DVDs or one of those VHSs. As time evolved, it was I started getting into stunt riding, and this was way before social media. VHSs originally, and I started buying DVDs. Well, I got my first real sport bike at 18 and was, just continued to be obsessed. This was something that it was in my mind my whole life. So I started trying and figuring out how to learn wheelies and do these crazy things these guys were doing. Fast forward to about age 22 in college, I had actually gotten to the point I was on bike number 3 at that time. And I had actually taught myself to ride a wheelie at highway speeds, could keep it under control, could go for about as long as I want. But that was about it. These videos had guys doing wheelies in circles and sitting on their gas tanks with their feet over their handlebars and doing just wild things, doing wheelies at 3 miles an hour, no hands, gnarly stuff. And I had to do it, right? So where I lived out in the Midwest was less than 100 miles from where the 3-time world champion stunt rider lived at. At the time, we had a forum called Stunt Life, since there wasn't any social media yet. I got in contact with these guys. So I spent a lot of time around these guys. I learned how to do the things they were doing just by being in proximity to them, seeing this was all possible, watching them progress and elevate, and they were helping me out. And so this went from this thing that I hyper obsessed over, that I manifested because I was so into it. And then I surrounded myself with community. And then before you know it, almost overnight, these guys are coming out to where I was going to college. We were doing stunt riding shows and parades. I bought one of their bikes. He told me, "Congratulations, bro, you're a real stunt rider now." And this really became my identity: manifestation, community, and identity. So I've been on my self-development fitness journey for 4 years now, 4.5. And I've been alcohol-free for 2.5. And, I've really, really leaned into isolation on this. I had to just separate myself from everything that was familiar, everything I knew, people that had the habits I was removing myself from. And all 4.5 years, I worked out on my own. I keep to myself. I'm in there to meditate. I'm in there to handle business. And I really enjoy that time to myself. And also there's this feeling of kind of imposter syndrome. Yeah, I'm here, I'm doing this thing, I'm making some progress, but then you see other people, it's like, yeah, they've been in it, they've done it, they know what they're doing. Recently, in the morning crew, you get to really recognize the same people that are in there every day doing work. And the most jacked guy in the gym, he approached me, tapped on my shoulder, fist bumped me, and told me, hey, great job, bro, you're looking good. And, not in any weird way, it's just, this is the thing that we're all interested in. This is our obsession. And, I've actually started just chatting with the guys a little more here and there. I've made more friends. I've given compliments. And this was a thing that, I knew I was going to do with my life, that I was taking this really serious when I got into it. And 4.5 years later, this has shifted from habits to lifestyle to identity. And now it's really obvious that this is now part of a community that we're all interested in the same thing. We're on a path. We understand there's certain things that we have just a shared journey with. And so once again, manifestation started to become, actually, I would say identity first, but then I've surrounded myself with this community. People who get up early, who eat right, who don't drink, who don't go out, who don't put time, energy, and just bad things into their body. They don't waste their health, their time, and their life. And so this is now, my community. This is my identity. And something else I've recognized, I don't go out to eat. I don't. Every once in a while, I'll go have a nice meal with family, which I think is a wonderful thing to do. But I eat very healthy. I stay in congruency with my macros. I live this life 24/7 now. Now, I've also come to realize that community that we're in can be such a huge barrier to our path of elevation, to really internalizing, to manifestation, to that identity. If our time is spent eating fried chicken, drinking beer in sports bars with our buddies, obsessing over fantasy league, that is our identity. If you're working out 5 days a week, but you're still hanging out with other people who that's not their lifestyle, you're going to be dramatically hindered to where you're headed to, because your identity is still part of the guy who's eating burritos, spending hours of his life watching somebody else do something when you could be out doing something, filling your face with unhealthy food. The cost of our new life is our old one. And the people that matter the most to us, they're going to still be a part of our lives. They'll probably progress and elevate as well as they see it happening with you. But the reality is, maybe our community, instead of being the people we spend all the weekends in with, surrounding ourselves with their unhealthy habits, what if maybe we meet up with the people we care about for lunch? What if we dial it down from a couple days a weekend to 1 or 2 days a month for coffee, until our path really truly becomes our identity? And those people that are truly important, they're going to stay a part of your life. The guys that I work with now, the friends that I was drinking buddies with back in college, man, there's so many stories and crazy things of us just getting tanked out at the lake, in college, tailgate, everything. Most of us have quit drinking. We're still in contact. We're great friends. We all own our own businesses. We all have different paths, but certain things that are still in alignment. And this was, I think this might just be the universe. This wasn't like, at least I didn't have influence on this with these guys. I've been 13 years of my life have been elsewhere in places way cooler than the hometown, and I'm in and out. I also realized that some of those people who we have a lot of fun with, who maybe we feel a real connection with, aren't actually a part of our path to where we're headed to next. They are a barrier. They are a hindrance. And the less time you spend around them, the more you elevate, the less you're going to have in common. And it's one of those many uncomfortable things, or at least you think it's uncomfortable at the beginning, that this place, this community, this identity that I had is no longer congruent. This is no longer the man that I want to be, or the man that I am, or the man that I'm becoming. And sometimes those people are going to become distant Facebook friends, people who maybe you cross paths with every once in a while. And some of them are going to elevate along with you and see what you're doing and realize, wow, I can do something like this too. And some of them might still be important, still live their life, and you still have limited exposure to them in environments that are generally healthy. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm in a situation where, and I get up early, I go to bed early, there's nothing that brings me around these situations. But if I'm in a situation where I'm around people taking shots and partying, big deal. I'm not going to take a shot. I'm not going to be worried about it. I'm not going to be stuffing my face with unhealthy food. That's not who I am. And it's it's pride in my identity now. If somebody's going to try to give me a hard time about not drinking or not eating healthy food, I'm going to hold my head high. I'm proud of the man that I've built, and I'm building, and I'm becoming, and I have become. So I could just, 10 toes down. I am who I am. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not apologizing. I'm not explaining it. It is what it is. If you don't like it, well, then we're obviously not people that need to stay in close contact. But the great thing is, I'm manifesting, I'm becoming community. My identity is bringing me around more people who get up early, who work out, who own businesses, who push head on into uncomfortable, unknown things with self-belief, with an understanding that, yeah, failure is the most valuable lesson. I'm going to take way more away from failure than success. If I haven't had to struggle along the way, then something even worse is going to happen if I get success too early. There is no story without struggle. The harder you go down, the lower you go down, the higher you're coming back up. And being around other people, there's this vibration, this sense that, I'm still battling every day between the old version and the new, and old beliefs and dark things versus this feeling of true elevation and self-belief and identity. This is not a complete project, but it's only moving in one path. And this vibration, it just attracts the right type of people. And the wrong type of people are, we're like blind to each other. I think I'm probably uncomfortable and intimidating to them. When I do rarely go, just because I need some exposure to the public, rarely go to a hookah lounge or a cigar bar. And these places serve alcohol, and I get a club soda and lime. And, I keep to myself there too. I'm not there to interact because I know that I'm living a different life than every single person in that place. But it's kind of fun to come in, with my nice, shapely, veiny arms and my great posture, and just a happy feeling of, yeah, I'm different and I love it. So I don't think that one was actually a tear of emotion. I think it was just dry eye or something. But so these things, they all tie together: manifestation, community, and identity. And behind all of that, if we want to manifest a better life, we also have to take the actions consistently that are congruent with what we want to manifest. We can't just think about it and say affirmations and and whatever. We have to actually act in a way that over time we see the man that we see in the mirror is the man who does not miss his workouts, who does not put alcohol in his body, who stays congruent with who he has become and who he is creating. And it starts with habits. Habits are the foundation for everything, and fitness is also the foundation for everything. But you cannot have good fitness without good habits. That's the core of my message. It took me 5 years on this journey to lock down these two things, and these are tears of joy. This is real emotion. The fact that I've found my purpose, I've found my mission, and I know for a fact that I was put here for a reason, that everything that I've put myself through and everything that I've been through, even when it was out of my control, was to lead up to getting this message out to the world. And that's why I'm going to keep making these videos to get 5 or 10 views, because someday they're going to get 100, and then someday they're going to get 1,000. And eventually, here and there, they're going to start to plant seeds. You're going to start help getting these ideas out that have been with us since the beginning of humanity. You can see this in Stoicism. You can see this in different cultures and ancient religions. And I promise, these were parts of mainstream Christianity and Western religion that just weren't as comfortable, as convenient as getting together before church and eating donuts and having a parking lot full of finance Mercedes when Chevys could have gotten you there too. And we'll talk about that more, because when we're going into debt, we're selling a portion of our future to someone else. And we're selling a portion of that future to numbers created on a screen for interest. And all of that time that we have to trade for those dollars is time being taken away from our purpose and our mission. So, these old ancient things that I'm learning about, these are lessons that, yes, I'm not telling you that you don't have to stay part of your religious community. These are lessons that have been absent in my highly religious upbringing, and I've had exposure to everything within the Western Christian ideology. But the things that I'm learning, that I believe are the intentions of God, these things, they weren't talked about in church. Loving and taking care of our bodies, doing hard things, having real discipline, understanding that life is not about comfort, especially not as men. I'm not saying that those lessons aren't there in places, but the more that I've silenced the voice of man, the louder the voice of God has become in my life. And I want to get these valuable lessons out. Fitness is the foundation for everything. Habits are the foundation for fitness, and habits are the foundation for everything. You get those to unlock manifestation, community, and identity. They're all going to fall in place. And, you know, I'm just a guy sharing the journey. I've made a whole lot of progress, but I haven't arrived. I'm not up on a stage. I don't have millions of dollars or millions of followers, but this is only moving in one direction, and we're going to keep riding together. So thanks for hearing me today. Take this to heart. This is real stuff. Love you. Catch you tomorrow.